beginning transmission of Music Bizz Radio. Thank you for listening. Here is your host, David Richards.
Hello and welcome back to Music Bizz Radio. I'm your host, David Richards. We're glad that you could join us. We have another exciting show for you today. We have world-famous guitar aficionado and fabulous performer Oz Noy. He will also be our CD release featured artist of the week. And we will be talking about his album Asian Twist, which you will also be hearing throughout the program today. We'll be doing a review on the TC-Helicon VoiceLive play, and we will also have from TC-Helicon Laura Davidson. And, of course, Facebook Follies and another great In the Shed. Before we get started on the show, I'd like to make a very special announcement. Music Bizz Radio will be starting our Music Bizz Radio Concert Series. One of our first concerts is going to be from the world-famous jazz club Birdland, where we will be doing a live broadcast of the Steve Johns Family Band, and they will be performing their album Family live on Music Bizz Radio on a stream, and we will also have that show archived where you can listen to it at all times. And just a reminder, you can listen to all Music Bizz Radio shows in our archive and on musicbizzradio.com. Our guest on today's show is virtuoso guitar player. He's been named by Guitar Player Magazine as Best New Talent at one time, Best Out There Guitar Player, and Best Guitar Riff on a Record in 2007. Ladies and gentlemen, it's fabulous guitar player Oz Noy.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Oz, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good to talk to you. Really good to talk to you. So, wow, you got a lot going on. You regularly play with Keith Carlock, Anton Fig, Dave Weckl, Will Lee, to name a few, but the list of players that you've played with is pretty amazing.
Yeah. The guys that I play with, I guess. I don't know. It's normal to me. Right.
It is normal. And I think, recently I saw you in New York. You're based in New York.
Yes.
And I travel a lot, and I had somebody had brought a Guitar Player magazine to me and said, hey, look at this. This Oz Noy has a transcription in here. And I remember running into you about a week later, and I said, yeah, Oz, somebody brought a transcription of one of your solos to me in Guitar Magazine, and you said, wow, yeah, that's pretty weird, isn't it?
I guess it is, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's pretty cool. Obviously, many people respect the talent and things that you brought to music, and you definitely have a unique style and creativity that everybody really likes. So it's good to have you on the show, and I guess a lot of people know about you, but you're kind of a low-key guy.
Yeah, I guess. I don't go to fancy parties or anything like that, if that's what you mean by low-key.
You just seem
I don't know. I just play in New York. I live in New York, and I play in this. That's kind of my home base, so I play around here when I can, and then I go out, and tour or do other stuff. But that's really it. I don't hang out with the Kardashians, if that's what you're referring to as low-key.
Well, I think there's a lot of, in the guitar world, there's definitely a lot of fans out there. You have a really good following. You do a lot of YouTube videos that people seem to follow a lot, and your name is out there. I mean, people really know who you are. So I think that...
It's good, I guess.
Yeah, it is. It's great. I think that you're very good at creating new music and creating a unique style. And what we're listening to throughout the show today is your latest album, Asian Twist. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a funny story, actually. I was on tour around at the end of the summer of 2014. And it was me and Dave Weckl and Etienne Mbappe, bass player. And we had about, we were there for 2 weeks. We had about 10 shows. And when we came back from the tour, the guy from my record company asked me if we recorded anything. And I didn't know because we weren't planning on recording anything. But Dave Weckl always, when he plays, he always has this electronics that he uses. He's got this big mixer, and he brings his own mics and the whole thing, and he actually mixes his own drums. So that's how he's been doing it for years. So a lot of times over the years, not only in this tour, he can record straight into Pro Tools from his mixer.
Right.
So I called Dave, and he actually told me that he recorded 3 of the shows, and they were recorded into Pro Tools, 16 tracks into Pro Tools, and they sounded pretty good, and the performances were really good. And it was 2 shows from Shanghai and 1 show from Bangkok. So we started to go over it, and we found like a pretty good live record came out of it, and then he mixed it. Dave mixed it. He's a great mixer. And so it was a real nice surprise of, I released a live album that was totally unplanned at all, There was no gear for anything. We just played, and he recorded while we were playing, and it turned out really good. I'm really proud of it, and that's it.
Well, that's
nice
great.
Surprise,
Yeah, and I think that's pretty cool that you can be doing a performance and not really thinking about the fact that it's going to be on a record or being recorded.
Yeah, but the other thing about it was towards the end of the tour, so we were really going for it. It was kind of like we were really on it and we were going for it. So it's a really, really good representation of this band, and I think it's the best recorded documentation of my playing till today.
Yeah, well, you guys have been playing together for a while. That's it's pretty
really
great.
Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty great that technology has come to that point. Your drummer's walking around with a recording rig saying, "Hey, I just got 3 records here. What do you want?"
Yeah, no, it's pretty wild how it happened, and the fact that you can actually get such great results from having not much,
Right.
It's pretty amazing. It's good to spread the word that people will kind of know that it's possible,
It's great. It's excellent. So, and this is your latest record, but you also have a couple other ones that are really cool. Twisted Blues.
Yeah, that's it's the Twisted Blues project, I guess, that I've done. I started. I have Twisted Blues Volume 1 and Twisted Blues Volume 2, and I started. I think Volume 1 came out in 2012, maybe 2010 or 2011, and then Volume 2 came out in 2013, something like that. And now, that's like I don't know, to my opinion, it's like my best work because it's something that I was planning for a long time. I had these concepts over kind of blues themes, I would say. Like, I wrote the music, but it was, more bluesy and kind of Hendrixy and stuff like that. And I made those 2 records, and I don't know, I think they're pretty good. They're great. There's some stuff there that's kind of, I think, hasn't been done before with the blues,
Oh, yeah, and I got to tell you, occasionally I'll make the drive from New York to North Carolina, and I was looping that Volume 1 over and over again in the car and just really enjoyed it. Really cool, yeah. I mean, that's...
Yeah, Volume 2 is even, to my opinion, Volume 2 is kind of another... this Volume 1 is cool, but Volume 2 is, to me, it's like it was like the second part of Volume 1, but I think I kind of was able to push it a little higher, you know what I mean?
Cool, yeah, I'll have to check that out. You actually gave me Volume 1, you handed it to me, so that was very cool.
Oh, yeah, one of the Iridium or something?
Yeah. So, cool. No, it's cool. So, I mean, the recordings are great. They really are. The records are great, but you do a lot of performing. You're doing a lot of performing in New York, too, as well as on tour.
Yeah.
One of the things, you kind of have like a residency, I guess you could call it, a place where you seem to play live a lot. And
yeah, well, that's how I make records, really. First of all, I keep my chops that way, you know what I mean? But then the other thing is I can develop my music. So I've been playing at the Bitter End on the West Village, and the Greenwich Village, I guess, in New York.
Right.
I've been playing there since I moved to New York in the mid-'90s, but I started to play there every Monday since 2002.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's 13 years. I don't play there all the time, but whenever I'm in town, I'll play there. And usually I'll play there for a couple of months straight. Because like right now, I'm working on another album that I'm going to record. I have the dates, but I'll record the end of the summer. So I'm playing between now, this is like mid-June, I guess, till the end of August, beginning of September. I'll play there every Monday. And that's kind of how I make my records. I write the stuff, and then we play it live to kind of make it happen and gel. So, and then once it's ready, I go in and record. That's how I've been doing all my records, really. That's how this whole thing started. Like, I play there for a while, I write the music, we try different stuff, and then when it's together, we go in and record.
And the Bitter End has quite a history, obviously, but, you know,
Sure.
It's quite a treat for people off the street that are, you know, you get a lot of people that are visiting New York and tourists and things and kind of catch it out of the side of their eye and go, oh, let me check this out. And little do they know, they walk in and there's Oz Noy and his all-star group of guys doing incredible music. I mean,
it's pretty cool. It's kind of cool. I kind of, without really trying, I kind of created a cool scene because people know I'm playing there. But the other thing is, there's a lot of guys that I can call to play with me. You know, like for when I was doing the Twisted Blues Volume 1 and Volume 2, Alan Toussaint was playing on both of those records. So whenever he was in town, he would come and sit in with us, you know?
right.
And then that's one guy, but, you know, like Eric Johnson is a friend of mine, and he came and play, and I don't know, a bunch of other people, and I do other stuff, so, you know, did some stuff. Sometimes I do this thing when whenever I'm not working on records, I just try to keep myself entertained, so sometimes I do stuff with singers, where it's kind of the same thing that I do, but we do it over songs. So, you know, we did something with Christopher Cross there and with some other people. So it's kind of cool because I have a stage where I can kind of do whatever I want, you know?
Yeah, it's a great place. And then usually after your gig is Richie Canada's thing, so you get a...
Yeah, it's a jam, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, which I play with Richie, but there's a lot of... it's just a really, really cool little hang, and I like sneaking in there and checking you guys out. When
Sure.
I'm in the city, and it's like, you know, pretty killer. So, but yeah, so you definitely have a style, your own style that I think a lot of guitar players out there are not only impressed with, but strive to be. How did you start out? You started real young.
Well, I started playing at the age of 10, and I started, my starting was kind of funny because I started, you know, playing guitar like anybody else, like an Allen string guitar, but then I got into the Beatles really early on, like right in the beginning. I had a friend of my brother that used to come to our house and play guitar, and he knew all these Beatles tunes. So and then my brother and him had a band. So that's how I kind of started playing like songs, Beatles songs. And then from some reason, my brother... my big brother had a good ear for music, so he started to bring jazz into the house. Suddenly I started to listen to like Chick Corea and Kid Jarrett and like McLaughlin or Al Di Meola. So that's how I got exposed to jazz. So all those years when I was living in Israel, I was studying jazz, but because I also had like the sensitivity to pop music and songs, because I always liked it, I always did both. Like I always played rock and played with singers in Israel, but at the same time I always played jazz and kind of studied jazz. So that's really been going on till today, but that's kind of what I guess made me develop my style, because I kind of did two things at once, you know?
Yeah, and you definitely have an influence. I mean, you're playing. There's a lot of jazz, funk, rock, blues, even R&B in there.
Yeah, you know, I'm aware of all that modern music. Like I'm aware of funk and rock and stuff, because I always played that, especially when I started the recording sessions. I always did a lot of that stuff. And then, but then I'm a jazz musician, and I studied bebop. So whenever like I get students to come to my house for lessons, they always kind of ask me those questions, and I tell them, you know, my playing is basically a mix of bebop and blues. And it's played over different grooves, really, whether it's funk grooves or rock or swing or whatever.
No wonder I like your stuff so much.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No,
you should try it one day. No, you know, but that's really what it is. It's the only way I can kind of explain it, you know?
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. It's... it's you definitely cover all of these genres of music, and technically, your technical skills are pretty wild. A lot of people are pretty in awe of the technique that you use.
I don't know. I think my technique is okay. I see guitar players that have way better technique than I do.
Yeah, well,
yeah, I don't know. That's just my opinion, but I think the thing about what I do is I try not to focus on the technical part. I try to whatever I go for is musical. It's got nothing to do with chops, you know what I mean, or fingering or stuff like that, or tricks on the guitar. It's just like, musical stuff with the ear or rhythmical stuff or stuff like that. So, I don't know. Sometimes I'm able to get it fast. Sometimes I'm able to get it slow. But it's not coming from a technical perspective. That's why I think, because there's guitar players out there. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's like a stylistic thing that do have much more chops than I do, I think,
Well, that's easy for you to say.
I guess so. I don't know. Well, that's like my, that's how I see it.
It's hard to be objective about oneself, I guess, in that situation.
I know. I guess.
But, we're speaking to Oz Noy, the fabulous guitar player on Music Bizz Radio here. So you came from Israel. That's where your home base was, and you actually played on a television show there.
Yeah. I grew up in Israel. I moved to New York when I was 24. So till I moved to New York, I was working there. And for a minute, I was working there a lot. So I was a part of a house band on a TV show there for about 2 years. And then I played with a lot of jazz there. I was kind of lucky because at the time there was it's still there, but there was a pretty decent live jazz scene there, so I was able to kind of develop my stuff. But also, though, I played with a lot of the pop stars there, like the singer-songwriters there and stuff. So that was that, really.
So then you decided, I'm going to go to New York. How was the beginning of that? Like when you first came to New York, were there people that kind of knew of you, or were you just starting from scratch?
No, everybody. Yeah, when you move to another place, especially in New York, you start from zero. I had good friends of mine that were already in the jazz scene and doing really well. But you have to kind of go through your own thing. Like they haven't gotten me anything really. They were just friends, and although they were deep in the scene, I couldn't. You have to do the work yourself. So that was it really. And then after that, I just started to play and meet people, and it takes years, but that's what it is really.
Right. So did you do the jam session?
Yeah, of course. At the time, there was a lot more jams in New York. But yeah. I used to do the, Smalls, and there was a place, St. Mark's, and then August, and all those places that some of them are not around anymore. So there was a jam there, so I used to go all the time there. And then, in the same time, there was a jam at the bitter end every Sunday.
Right.
So I started to go to that jam, and sometimes playing in the house band there.
That was the bluesy one, right? I started to. What's that? That was the bluesy one? Was that the blues jam?
It was the Dave Mann was doing it. It was just kind of a everything kind of thing. It was totally cool. Like that's how I met me and Keith Carlock moved to New York at the same time. That's how I met him at the jam, and that's how we started to play at that jam,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I guess people that haven't been musicians in New York, it's definitely a cool thing just to kind of go around and go to all these jam sessions. I mean, it's definitely humbling, not only from a musical standpoint, but from the fact that, you're running around the city and you're not really making money at these jams. You're kind of paying your dues.
Yeah.
So,
there used to be a lot more of it than now, but there's still a fair amount of jam sessions in the city. I don't know. I think it's still around. It's just not as much. Because it used to be a blues jam at Chicago Blues, and a blues jam at Manny's Car Wash. All those clubs are gone, you know. So
right.
It's shrunk, but there's still a few places that are going on. But the thing that really struck me the most wasn't those jams, was the scene at Smalls, because when I came, some of the guys that are big stars now were still playing there, like Brett Meldau and like Kurt Rosenwinkel, people like that, who were still playing at Smalls, you know. So I could see them, and Brian Blade used to play there a lot, and I used to see them all the time. And it kind of shocked me how great the jazz scene was. That's the thing that really kind of slapped me hard.
So what kind of guitar were you playing at the jams?
Well, when I moved to New York, I moved with my Strat and with my 175 jazz guitar, like the Gibson jazz guitar,
right.
that I always had, and I never really liked playing those guitars. And I used it here for maybe 2 years. And, you know, I couldn't really develop a voice on it. I don't know. I sounded like a bad version of, like, Pete Bernstein or something. You know what I mean? It never was really my thing. And then I started to play with Gavin DeGraw, you know, the pop singer, the star, the guy.
Yeah.
He's like so I actually started to play with Gavin DeGraw here when he just started. And we played together for, like, 2 years every year. It was actually every Monday, believe it or not, in the club here on the Upper West Side. That's how he got discovered. So when I started to play with him, I had to get an acoustic guitar, and what I did is I traded my Gibson for an acoustic guitar, and that's the best move I've ever did in my life, because once I got rid of the jazz guitar, I kind of came to to peace with the fact that, all right, I'm playing a Strat, whether I'm playing jazz or rock or whatever, that's what I'm using. And that was it, and that kind of solved a lot of issues for me. Really.
Well, I figured you weren't going into Smalls with the Strat, you know. So.
Well, not back then, but since then I played there. I don't play there much, barely, but
right.
I have played there once or twice after with the Strat.
Oh, well, I can imagine now, but, you know, you're established, and that's your sound, and that's your signature. And speaking of which...
things have opened up. Like, now it's pretty normal where jazz guys play with solid body guitars.
Oh, yeah.
At the time, it wasn't that hip yet.
Right.
You know?
Well, so in your sound, you do have this signature sound. You have quite an array of pedals that you integrate into your setup in there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think, you know, there's a lot of players out there that I don't think you do it in a gimmicky way. I think you really, it lends itself to what you're trying to communicate in the music. And it's really nice. I mean, what's your pedal setup like?
Well, I have a lot of pedals. The thing for me is not the pedals. What happens when I started to work on my records, you know, I play as a trio, so you have to fill out a lot of space and make it interesting, you know?
Right.
Especially when I started. So the way that my pedal work got developed was through writing my music and playing it every week at the bitter end, because I started to, I guess, integrate different sounds into my songs, you know? And that's how it kind of evolved and became like that pedal board, or the way I use pedals. It's like a part of my it's a part of my music. Now it's really a part of my playing, but all those pedals that I had were really like a part of the music, you know, that I was writing kind of.
Right.
And then in terms of the pedal board, you know, I got you know, for the Twisted Blues Band, I use a different pedal board than for my other stuff that I played before. And then if I play a jazz gig, then I have a different board. But those are basically similar boards. It's just like little differences, you know. But it's over the years, it was pretty clear to me what pedals I like and what I don't. So if I use one board or the other, they basically all have pretty much the same stuff, you know.
Well, it's done. It's done very tastefully. So anybody that hasn't seen you live, it's definitely part of the music.
Yeah, plus if you go on my website, there's like lists of everything to the chord, you know what I mean? So you can see exactly what I'm using, and you know, and there's videos of how I use it and stuff.
Right, yeah, you have an extent.
All the secrets are out there.
Yeah, and that's oznoy.com. And
Yeah.
you do have quite a bit of good information there and videos, like you said. So that's a good place. And they can buy the albums there as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, they can go and it leads them to the... Yeah.
Okay. So that's oznoy.com. All right.
There's also like some charts there and that you can buy. And I have a bunch of instructional DVDs, so also that stuff you can get.
So when you came to New York, okay, so you're in New York and you pay, you're pounding the pavement, you're going to all these jams, probably picking up gigs here and there, and obviously anyone that knows that situation, it's not a get rich quick situation. And then obviously people started to hear you play and say, hey, there's this really cool guitar player, he's Oz Noy, and he does some really cool stuff, and you started to pick up gigs.
I guess that's how it works, yeah.
So did you have like this vision before you went to New York that I'm going to go to New York and make things happen? And then, once I'm established, I'll go on the road and I'll tour with all these people and I'll make tons of money. What was your vision that you had? Was it anything like that?
Well, the vision that I didn't have a vision. I just wanted to come to New York and play and work, and play with good guys, I didn't have a plan to have a solo career at all. Not at all. I just wanted to come and play with artists and with good players and, make good music, really, and get better, I had no plans of becoming like a solo artist. And then what happened was, I started when I moved to New York. There's a guy in a club. There was two clubs that kind of gave me. They liked the way I play, so they kind of gave me a gig once a month. One club was La Barbette, and one club was the Bitter End. So I thought to myself, if I'll have a band of my own playing instrumental stuff in those clubs, kind of people will pay attention to me, and I can also hire guys that I want to play with, which I did. And I was doing that kind of stuff in Israel. Before I came, I had like this trio my trio kind of started in Israel, really. So what happened is I was doing that for a couple of years, and I was just really doing it to, it's another gig to play some music and stuff. And then I was touring. There was 1 year that I was touring with Richard Bona, with his band. And then once that was over, a friend of mine pretty much kind of pushed me. A good friend of mine named Mark Schulman, he's a great guitar player here in New York. He heard some recordings I did just from the room at the Bitter End, and he's like, hey man, you got something special here. I think you should record it. And he kind of convinced me to record it. And I got a friend of mine that came with a D88, those recording machines. Yeah. Yep. And he came and he recorded like maybe it was 2 nights. He recorded like 2 sets a night. So and that was my first album. It's called Oz Live. I recorded in 2012, I think. And that was the first thing I did, and I did it with no money at all. Like it wasn't planned. It wasn't. I just kind of my friend kind of told me, "Hey man, you got to do this," and I did it. And in the beginning I released it myself, and then through getting that record, I got a record deal with this company named Magna Carta. And then I started to do those studio records, the Ha record and Fuzzy and Schizophrenic. And then after that, when I left that deal, then I started to work with Abstract Logic, which is the company that I still work till today with. But that was the story. I wasn't really planning on making my own records or being a solo artist. And even when I started to do that, I was kind of hoping that would be like the cherry on top of the, I wasn't trying to make this my main thing, but it kind of became, which is kind of weird.
Well, it's a nice surprise, and we're all grateful that happened to you and that you made that happen. So,
yeah, I wasn't planning on it. It's just that, life is what happens while you're making other plans. So that's exactly what happened.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that your name is out there and people know who you are. No doubt about it. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's great. And so it's interesting that you talk about these live recordings because, again, if you go to a live show of Oz Noy, whether it's in a small place or a big venue or whatever, the performance is always amazing. It's definitely tight and killer sounds and great musicians you always have in your group. So do you like what is the difference? Do you feel do you like the in-studio experience when you're doing the studio records compared to the live records?
No, I don't like to make studio records. It's a nightmare. It's really hard to do. But you do it, and then it's very, very hard to make records, man. Like, it's super hard.
Yeah.
And then when you're done with it, you have the record. You go like, okay, so I guess I have another record out now. You know, and there's hopefully a couple of tracks that you really like, and that's it. It's like, it's kind of like your body of work. You know, you have to keep doing it. But making the actual record is not fun at all because, you know, I'm used to playing live. When you play live, it's happening, and you know, it's much easier to make it happen. When you go to a studio, it sometimes takes a while to get to that level where it sounds, you know, like everything gels and everybody's loose, and it's as good as the live stuff. That's what I'm trying to go for, because we're making records like a lot, jazz records, you know. I'm not doing overdubs or any of that kind of stuff. So, to me, it just takes a while. It's not that easy, and it doesn't matter who's playing with me. It doesn't matter if it's Vinnie Colaiuta, Dave Weckl, or Keith Carlock, or Willie. It doesn't matter. It still takes a minute, you know. So it's just hard work because you have to, you know, when you play live, you know, you get it and you play and there's vibe and the sound is different too. It's a lot easier to deal with. So, I don't know if it's kind of a torturous fun, I would call it. You know?
Yeah, because I can imagine you're doing all these live recordings and going through it and saying, all right, done with that. And then they say, okay, you signed a record deal, and they put you and they say, okay, we're going to put you in the studio. We need you to make a record. You go in, and here you are in the studio. It's a totally different experience.
Yeah, the hardest thing in the studio is that it's such a different environment acoustically.
Right.
You know, so, you know, I don't think, as much as I try, it's not that I don't play good on my records, but you play different when you're in the studio.
Right.
You know? It's just what it is.
So you're doing quite a few live shows. I think you just got back from traveling and doing some shows, and you have a good following in Japan. Yes?
I think so.
Yeah. So where'd you come up with the name Asian Twist?
It wasn't me. It was the guy from my record company. He was the brilliant genius. I just wanted to call it Live in Asia. He goes like, no, man, we got to find a name. Because, you know, it's from Asia, and the last two records are Twisted Blues, so he came up with that. Brilliant.
Oh, I'm sorry. The sense of humor. If you don't know Oz Noy, he just... something about his humor, and it's funny. A good friend of mine, I was telling him we were doing the interview, and I said, "Hey, man, I got Oz on the show. It's great." And he's a big fan of yours, and he said, "God, that guy has a great sense of humor," and he's just seen you at a show. So,
yeah, I guess I don't think things too seriously.
That is true, and I guess that's what I was alluding to in the beginning of the interview. Here was. That, you know, you're a real down-to-earth guy, and you've always been real nice, and I think no matter how good things are going for you, to me, you're a guy that's really about the music. You're very focused on the music, and that's what you like to do. And you don't seem to have an ulterior motive going on with some kind of ego balance. You know, you have a very balanced ego. It seems like it's kind of void of that stuff.
Yeah, you know, everybody's got an ego, but, you know, if you can balance it with what you like to do, then you're fine, you know?
Right.
If you have an ego and you don't do what you like to do, then you're kind of screwed, you know?
And that definitely comes out in the music. So, and that's appreciated not only by musicians, but, you know, to the people that listen to your music. So, so what are you getting ready to do? Are you getting ready? I know you're going to be, if you're lucky enough to be in New York, you can check him out on the bitter end. And if you go to oznoy.com, it's got his full schedule there. He's got a lot of bitter end dates on there. And
the bitter end is every Monday at 10:30.
Yep.
Through the whole summer, and then there's some other stuff around it, or
And you never know who's going to be playing with Oz in that situation. It's a pretty cool little hidden surprise in the music world of New York. So, and we've been listening to Asian Twist, and we'll listen to Asian Twist tracks throughout the show. And we're very, very happy to have you on the show. All right, so were you getting ready to go anywhere in the future here besides Bitter End?
Oh, it's just the same stuff, I just finished a U.S. thing. I was on the West Coast and in the South, and got a couple of dates now on the East Coast. I don't know when I'm going to go to Europe again, but I will at some point. And then it's just Asia again at some point. I don't have exact dates yet, but I will at some point. Because I just did it. You can't just do those things. You can only do it like once a year,
Right. You don't want to give them too much Oz.
Well, I wouldn't mind it, but I don't think the people will can absorb too much of it, Well, there's plenty of other people that go there, so.
Well, we've really enjoyed having you on today, and the music's great. Asian Twist is the latest CD, and Twisted Blues Volume 1 and 2. If you have not checked those out, they are fabulous and really, really good stuff. And it's just such a nice mixture of genres within the music, It's a very good mix. So if you get a chance to check those out, everybody, we definitely encourage that. And just want to thank you, Oz, for being on.
Sure.
You've been great. I always enjoy talking to you and hanging, and the music's fabulous. All right. Well, we will be back with more Music Biz Radio right after this.
Hi, this is Arturo Sandoval, and you're listening to Music Biz Radio with David Richards.
Hi, this is David Richards, host of Music Biz Radio. We really hope you enjoy the program, and we want to remind you that Music Biz Radio is a listener-supported and limited sponsorship show brought to you every week on musicbizradio.com. We invite you to go to our website and check out all the new merchandise. We also have great ways you can be a part of the show. Go to the contribution section of our webpage, and you can find ways that not only can you help keep the show going, but you can also get some great Music Biz Radio merch. If you're a person or business interested in sponsoring the show in some way, we have a variety of sponsorship packages. Just go to the link on our contact page. Thanks again for listening to Music Biz Radio.
Hi, this is Tom Bones Malone, and you're listening to Music Biz Radio with David Richards.
Welcome back to Music Biz Radio. I'm David Richards. Today's review on Music Biz Radio is going to be the TC-Helicon VoiceLive Play. I actually have this pedal. It's a voice pedal. It's primarily used for vocals. It gives you effects. You can do harmony. There's a list of stacked effects. You've got stereo outputs, a nice mic preamp. So if you're not familiar with the product, it's basically for vocalists, so they have control of all their effects, and they can create presets, much like a guitar player for his presets and his pedals. I've heard many vocalists use it, and when used tastefully, it is absolutely a great tool. And just to be able to hand the sound engineer the XLRs and control your own effects when you're trying to do customized music can be a real powerful thing. Now, there are many horn players out there that are getting into pedals and doing different things. I've been doing it for quite a while, and depending on the gig, on my solo gigs, I definitely like to have the pedal there, and if I want a little more reverb for some ballad stuff, I can go to that preset. I can also do some layering with octaves and harmony, And there's some really, really neat features on this that I think you can enjoy. And this is just one of the pedals of a family of pedals. It's very compact, and I really, really enjoy it. And on the line, we have Laura Davidson, the marketing manager for TC-Helicon. Hello, Laura. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks.
What we've been doing is we've been talking about the VoiceLive Play, which I've used as an instrumentalist, but I've also used it in vocals, and I've used it to produce some tracks, and very, very clean, wonderful pedal.
Yep, absolutely. It's one of our best, in my opinion.
Yeah,
for ease of use and just functionality.
And so you guys, we talked about this pedal, but you guys have a variety of pedals and different things going on. What's happening with the company?
We do. Well, first of all, TC-Helicon is the only company that's 100% dedicated to creating products for vocalists. I know that you're using it as an instrumentalist, which has been a really cool kind of segue for us to get into a different genre and a different side of music. But specifically, TC-Helicon is dedicated to the singer, and so we make a whole range of products that range from single stomp boxes all the way up to full-on vocal effects processors that can do everything from live to studio recreations. I mean, we do it all. We have something for every singer and every budget, really.
And in speaking to singers, a lot of times some people do not know about the pedal as a vocalist. I mean, it's not necessarily, I think there's some things in there that aren't necessarily gimmicky things. There's some really, really cool things like the preamp, you having control as a singer and being able to, hand the XLR to the sound guy and say, hey, I got all the effects covered for all my tunes, and, I can preset my show in the pedal. I think it's a great tool for a singer.
Absolutely. And I also think the challenge is a lot of singers don't know about it, because I'm a singer myself, and we don't really do a whole lot of gear reading, or research, I would say. Like, we hear something, we see something on stage, and we say, what is that? Or we don't even know that it's there. We just assume it's front of house who's running it. So as a singer, having the control now to be able to do that is something that I really value and appreciate. Because not even getting into the full effect side of it, I mean, just having, like you said, a solid pre and having the tone feature, which is in pretty much all of our vocal products now, which is an automated compressor, de-esser, EQ feature that just really takes your voice and finds the sweet spot for you. It makes a world of difference. So, it's a nice option to have as a singer, but I think singers just don't know that it's out there still.
Yeah, and I think you guys are very innovative. One of the things that I really enjoyed when I first picked up my pedal was that you could use it as a rehearsal tool. And, mine has an auxiliary input, so you can plug in, and whatever you're playing, if you're playing back, in jazz, there's a lot of YouTube videos out there, and we have backing tracks that we can kind of rehearse and play along with. We can just go auxiliary in that, throw some headsets on, put a mic in, and basically practice like we're in a studio with just the pedal, and plug in your computer or even your phone into the pedal. And as a singer, I mean, I just can't even imagine not having one. And so what's...
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of view it as being complicated or cumbersome, but specifically with the VoiceLive Play range, the Play Acoustic, Play Electric, you can really sit there, plug in a mic, plug in a set of headphones, and just start singing. And when it has those room sense microphones on the side of it as well, if you're playing with a band or you're just jamming with an acoustic guitarist, they don't even plug in. They can just be playing the guitar, and the VoiceLive Play can grab key and scale info from an acoustic instrument or ambient music and let you add harmonies that are in perfect key and scale based on those room sense mics. So it's really cool to just be able to sit down, plug in, start singing, and not have to drag out 50 cables, full PA. You'd be sitting on your couch and jamming out with it. So it's really cool.
So really, to explain the room sense microphones to people, there's 2 microphones built in on the side of the pedal, basically ears of the pedal. And when you're doing harmony, the pedal actually listens to what harmonies are being played from the band or the group or whatever's going on, and actually will put the harmonies, if you're in a certain preset that has multiple layers of harmony, it puts those harmonies in the key of what is being played and makes the adjustment to that key. If there's a minor chord happening, it senses that through the room sense mics, and your harmony automatically becomes minor.
Right, and it's all instant, which is the really amazing part.
It's really crazy. And another feature you have on there, and I wouldn't necessarily encourage this on a huge scale for my vocal students, but there is where it can have, there is auto-tune in it, but
Yeah.
but it's actually very transparent, and you can control the percentage.
Correct.
So I would imagine, and it's funny, there's a lot of people doing these performances on TV, and they say, wow, they sound really great, and then they leak out those non-affected vocal tracks, and they sound pretty bad.
Right.
I would imagine there's a lot of bigger acts using auto-tune live and things like that. And I gotta say, I think if you did it at a major level, and you can change the percentage from anywhere from 0 to 100%. Obviously, when you get into the 100%, you're getting into the Kanye West effect sound.
Yeah, the T-Pain side of it. Yeah.
Right. And but a very, very small percentage. I mean, there's something to be said about is that cheating, or are you just trying to get the best possible performance? And it's very transparent.
Well, yeah, it's when you use it transparently, it can be used in a number of ways. Some people like to just sweeten up their intonation. Some people need the help, and we don't criticize or judge. We don't want people to feel like they're using it as a crutch, but it's there, and it's transparent if you want it to be, or completely in your face. So, but you can also use it with VoiceLive Play as a practice tool, where it'll show you in real time how flat or sharp you are, and it actually helps you improve your intonation. So I really like that for teachers who are having students who have kind of that little struggle. They can visually see, oh, yeah, I am flat, and then it helps the ear naturally pull the voice up. So it's a demon, and it's a good thing as well.
Well, it's a great performance tool, but it's also a great rehearsal tool. Sometimes when I have a voice student, we'll be in my rehearsal studio, and we'll be doing things, and I have a PA in there, and they can hear themselves. And then when they get to a certain level, I say, let's go in the studio, and I want you to hear yourself with headphones and singing through, a high-end microphone, and hear every little piece, and it's always like a shock on their face, like they're like, whoa. So this kind of can preempt that shock and kind of get used to rehearsing like that.
Yeah.
One of the things that's very cool about it too is there's the software interface that allows you to import and store presets. And I know one of the things that I really like about the pedal, and I had a blast, and I originally got mine for instrumental purposes because I had done a ton of research, but I had a blast playing with the vocal stuff because there's a ton of presets that you actually can load in. It comes loaded, but you can change them and move them on your interface through your computer, hook it up through
voice support.
Voice support, throw that through your USB. And it's funny. What you have is you have a lot of, I can't imagine the hours spent by your people creating these presets to sound exactly like hundreds of songs, and you have funny little names that kind of let you know it's kind of like the song.
Right. Well, we started doing that about 3 years ago. We wanted to stay current, and we wanted people to feel like when they invest in one of our products that they're not just going to be stuck with this product and it's going to become obsolete as soon as we release the next one. Because we get that a lot of times in forums. People are like, oh, I just bought this and you released another version. It's like, well, okay, but the one you have is not a dead stick. We are constantly doing new preset packs, adding new firmware updates, and then you edit it through the voice support application, which is free, and you get it from TC-Helicon.com. And you can edit your presets, move them around for a set list if you want to have them in a different order. So it's a unique feature and it's a benefit. But yeah, it's really helpful when you're just starting out with the product to be able to go through by genre or by very suggestive song titles and find the preset that you're looking for.
Yeah, and it's adjustable. You can customize it and everything. We're speaking to Laura Davidson from TC-Helicon, and so I've been using the VoiceLive Play, but you have the VoiceLive 2, you have the VoiceLive 3, and now the VoiceLive 3 Extreme.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about those. Now, those are some, pretty heavy-duty stuff you have in that.
Right. So VoiceLive 2 was basically the first upgrade after we released VoiceLive. There were a lot of years in between VoiceLive and VoiceLive 2. And it has a wonderful harmony library, preset library. And then with VoiceLive 3, and we also introduced a looper with the VoiceLive 2. And then with the VoiceLive 3, we really kind of kicked it up a notch by having a multi-track looper built into the box, as well as TC Electronic, our sister company's guitar effects in the box. And it's meant to be kind of a three-engine beast. So you have your vocal effects, you have the looper, and then you have the guitar effects. 3 separate engines. And so it's really powerful, and it's meant to be used to the extreme. So we made the VoiceLive 3 Extreme, which has even more cool functionality, specifically automation, which allows you to not touch the pedal. You set it up ahead of time, and it will change the presets on the fly, triggered by a backing track, which you can import into the VoiceLive 3 Extreme. And you can also record your audio into the VoiceLive 3 Extreme. So it's kind of hard to explain, when you say all 3 products at once. It's kind of daunting, but they're just kind of the creme de la creme, top of the range.
I mean, it does so many things. And you have a ton of videos with you actually singing quite beautifully on there as well, and playing guitar. Yeah. And so you have that, and there's a lot of examples of use of the pedal and the different pedals and everything that you have going on. And again, we talked about the preamps. The preamps are great, and you can adjust those and really customize the sound. And I think the idea is to be able to, really control your effects. I mean, as a solo act, fabulous, but just even as a lead singer of a group, I mean, to have controls of your effects at your foot tip, I guess you could say.
Right.
But and you can use that in your marketing if you want. But
I will steal that. Yes, foot tip. Yeah,
effects at your foot tip.
Your toe tip.
Oh, toe tip. Oh, that's better. Okay, see, that's why you're the marketing manager, and I'm
there.
Just
you go.
Doing radio here. So, well, excellent. Well, again, Laura Davidson. Fabulous. Love the products. Really, really a fan of them. And I hope to graduate one day to the VoiceLive 2 and 3. And, my little pedal here has been doing great for me, and I really enjoy it. And I've been happy to turn on some other musicians to the pedals. So
that's excellent.
All right. Well,
we really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. And again, if you want to check out more on the products, the website is?
The website is www.tc-helicon.com.
All right. Well, Laura, thank you so much for being on, and we really appreciate you guys having a great product.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, we will be right back with more Music Biz Radio right after this.
Hi, this is Jeremy Pelt, and you are listening to Music Biz Radio with David Richards.
So you want to be a musician, Well, maybe you had better get in the shed. Welcome to one of the most important parts of the show, In the Shed. This week we have guitarist Mr. Noy telling us how he gets his timing and accuracy in tip-top shape. Have a listen to some very valuable advice.
This is Oz Noy in the shed, and two tips I want to give you for practicing. One is whenever you practice scales or anything really, practice with a metronome. And whenever you practice with a metronome, try not to tap your foot, because your foot can actually throw you off a little bit from the metronome. When you don't play with a metronome, you should tap your foot. But when you play with a metronome, the metronome is kind of becoming your internal rhythm. And when you kind of tap your foot, it kind of can throw you off a little bit. So I don't know, that's just something that I discovered. And the other thing that I highly recommend is, I know it's really fun practicing at home and shedding and, getting all your stuff, but it's really not worth much unless you're actually going out of your house and playing with real human beings, whether it's in a rehearsal space or somebody's house jamming or in a gig. So you have to take those two things kind of in perspective. Practicing is really important, it's very important to do, but it's not real reality. Real reality is when you go out and you actually play and interact. So, good luck.
Facebook Follies is next. I hope that you haven't posted anything ridiculous or crazy. We may just use it now. This week on Facebook Follies, we found a performance that is not only forgetful to listen to, it is also forgetful to sing.
When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. It's amore. Bells will ring, ting-a-ling-ling, ting-a-ling-ling, and the bell ring, amore. You're in love when you know that you feel it's amore to me, but you see, back in old Napoli, that's amore.
Well, that's going to do it for another Music Biz Radio. I'd like to thank all my guests on the show today, Oz Noy, as well as Laura Davidson. Oz Noy with Asian Twist. Check out that CD. We've been playing it throughout the show. We love it. It's great. And TC-Helicon's Laura Davidson with her insight on what's going on over there. And we really want to thank you for listening. Also encourage feedback. Go to our website, which is musicbizradio.com. And also, please give us a call, 646-470-7794. We welcome any feedback, and we'd love to share it on the show. So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next week on Music Biz Radio.
Thank you for listening to this week's show. We hope that you enjoyed the program and will join us every week. For information on being a guest or just to contact us, please email us at trumpetdr@gmail.com. This now concludes our transmission.